What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Shaft, aka That Mill Guy, coming at you with a video that honestly has been a long time coming, talking about Tasha's Hideous Laughter. The card that has truly turned Mill into a turn one tier 1 deck. Not only was it Ruin Crab, not only was it Fractured Sanity, all these cards slowly coming in and out. We've already reached such a critical mass, and Tasha's has really done something so special for the archetype that I thought it only best to take a video to highlight it and talk about the math behind it, because it's a really interesting and polarizing card in a lot of people's minds, and it's a card that people are really understating, I think, in a lot of ways. So let's just kind of hop right into it here. Tasha's Hideous Laughter, if we check it out right here on Scryfall, right? 3 mana, blue 1, sorcery. Each opponent exiles cards. Each opponent, so get around hexproof, exiles cards, not mills, getting around some graveyard shenanigans, from the top of their library until that player has exiled CMC total of 20 or more. So for those of you generally understanding here, you could mill 5 cards and the total mana value could be 20. You could mill 30 cards and their total mana value is 20. And it's kind of iffy both ways. Small things to think about are that if you mill, let's say you mill 25 cards, they're at 19 CMC. You mill 25 cards, they're at 19 CMC. If the last card is like 7 CMC, which makes the total mill count to 26, it's still fine. That card will get milled over. So it's kind of nice in those small corner cases where you do get to mill away maybe that third or fourth copy of that high CMC card in their deck. That way, that second Tasha's, I should say, is kind of doubly, triply more effective in that case. So just small things to think about if you ever had that question. So Tasha's Hideous Laughter, fantastic against the aggro decks. And the reason I really wanted to make this video is thanks to user Slicenberg in the Mill Discord. Definitely a relatively common person in the streams and everything, came up with this beautiful kind of nice and simple Python simulator to show us the numbers for Tasha's. And when I mean us, this is publicly available. This isn't just for me, and I really wanted to make this video not only to highlight Tasha's, but also Slicenberger for providing a tool like this for kind of metas moving forward, because I really see this card sticking around, and something like this is really valuable. So let's take a quick look at the meta right now and see where kind of Tasha's is going to be really good. So obviously we're looking at decks with CMCs that are relatively low, decks that aren't really playing anything, consistently 5 mana, 6 mana, 7 mana. So immediately we're thinking stuff like Eldrazi, Tron, and Tron, gonna be a little tough here, okay? Although they do run a lot of 1 CMC artifacts and stuff to look for their Tron lands and create green, a lot of their planeswalkers and threats are a little higher mana, so it's gonna suck a little bit there. But obviously, a deck like Hammer Time, let's look at something specific here. Oh, is that like 8 1 CMC spells, 8 0 mana spells, 8 more 1 CMC spells, a bunch of 2s, bunch of lands that are 0 as well? Folks, we're gonna look at the math here, and you're gonna love on average how much we're milling for 3 CMC on this, okay? Let me give you another example. You're gonna love this one too. Hardened Scales, 3 mana, 0 0 1 1 2 1 0 1 1 1 1, like insane. This Hardened Scales is actually like this. If you can resolve a Tasha's Hideous Laughter and Hardened Scales, you should never lose. That's all I'm gonna say. Once we get to the numbers, you'll see why you should never lose here. So those are 2 extreme examples. What are some decks that are gonna be relatively tough, where you usually board out Tasha? So we're thinking of something like usually these 3-color high variant decks here. So obviously average CMC a little bit higher, kind of Prismari commands, 3 CMC, 3 CMC on the Indomitable, a couple of Nihiris, Teferi, Shark Typhoon. They might even play this on high number. That's a 6 CMC spell. There's a main board Emrakul, and that's 15. That's a lot of CMC off the top. So something like that might be a little bit tough here. Generally control decks as well. Remembering, check this out. Cryptic Commands 4 mana, Supreme Verdict's 4 mana, Archmage's Charm is 3, Counterspells 2. A lot of high-end spells over there. So stuff like this can be a little bit tough. But again, specifically, we're going to be looking at the math later on. I just want to kind of highlight why a card like this can be really powerful. Again, getting around hexproof effects and also beating those aggro decks that Mill has historically had a lot of trouble with. The red matchups and just really low to the ground creature matchups have been really tough. Our only tool has been Crypt Incursion, but decks that really want to hit you all at once for a high amount of damage, stuff like Prowess and Hammer Time, it's really just going to be, did we have removal or not? Well, now it's not only removal, we can beat them with Tasha's. So let's get right into the bulk of the video here. I want to hop into the Python code itself. So this is kind of the direct link. And if you wanted to access this code, I'm actually going to make it so this is only accessible on the Mill Discord. Might feel a little bit scummy, but I'm not going to be linking it down below in the comment section. I want everyone to be a part of the community, so I will be adding a link to the Mill Discord where you can access stuff like this. Join the conversation, be a part of it. Let's talk about this together. So the code itself, Seisenberger has provided some information in the green comments here as to how some of this works, and we can see a small graph that we'll go into in a sec here. But I mean, I can't parse through any of this. I haven't done ComSci in over 8 years. It's been a hot minute, but I understand some of the concepts here. So for maybe some of you out there, you can speak with Seisenberger and, you know, kind of expand this even further. But what you can generally see is going on is a bunch of text files have been created with the cards, the number of copies on the left side, and their CMCs on the right side. So you're going to see 0s, 6s, and stuff like that. And then a program is kind of completed through, and then a plot is demonstrated. So we can see kind of different versions of this. So let's look through the PNG of this. So looking through, we're going to see that the line in the middle, it's kind of yellow to me. The line in the middle here, that is the average. That is the dead average. So not very clear here. Let's look at, we can look at kind of right here with hardened scales. Like I was saying, it looks like on average, we are literally milling like 40, 41 cards. You cast Tasha's Hideous Laughter, blue, 1. Guess what? They've drawn, so you're at turn 3, right? So they have 7 cards in hand off to start. Let's say you don't mulligan. They've drawn 3 cards because you got to get to turn 3. They've drawn 3 cards. They're 10 cards left. They have 50 cards in library. You're telling me on average, let's say you didn't even cast a single mill spell yet for 3 turns. You cast Tasha's Hideous Laughter. You're going to mill the Hardened Scales deck for 40 cards on average, 50% of the time. And they're left with 10 cards. By the way, those are all exiled. Those are not able to be recurred by anything that they have. No Luros, no nothing. All gone. Beauty. So obviously some tougher stuff we see. Living End, obviously on average, going to be a little bit tougher. Remember the concept of Living End. High CMC creatures, lots of power, lots of toughness, that cycle really cheap for 1. You get recurred. So this is definitely going to be a matchup where you're boarding this out, but the numbers allow us to see why. So these limits here show us low end and top end. And this is kind of like the blue from, I believe what Seisenberger was telling me. The blue is where you're going to be at 50% of the time. This is the average. The blue is where you're going to be at 50% of the time. And the outer limits is where you're going to be at the other 50% of the time. That's how he made me understand it. I might be misspeaking here, but I believe that's what he let me know. But yeah, so I mean, let's look at some ideas here. So this is if they go through just the complete list, 60 cards. Now, what if some people are talking about, okay, Shaf, you and I are both mill players. We're intellectuals. We're some of the best modern Magic players out there. What if, let's say for an example, like, is it Tempo? What's a high CMC card in that list? I'm thinking Murktide Reach, 7 mana. That is brutal. Two of those Murktides are going to take up 14 CMC in the spell. What if, as an intellectual, I was just surgical to Murktides? Let's check the numbers. So let's check this right now. So as a reference, is it Tempo? On average, we're milling kind of slightly less than 20. Slightly less than 20. All right. So if we hop into the code here, we're gonna. So this is gonna be an example of how you can kind of manipulate the data here, just a little bit. If you were to go all the way to the right, let's find is it Tempo. Bang. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take the Murktide line. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it so there are 0 copies of this. Just gonna count it as 0. 0 copies. Let's run it. Right here. Press the play button. Data's changed. Let's run it through again. I believe this is how it works. I hope I'm doing this live. I hope this is how this works. Should have tested it once before. Just gonna let the program run. Let the plot be generated. Let's go back to the image here. So if we go down to is it tempo? Bang! Bang! Check this out. We went from slightly under 20 to slightly under 30. By surgically Murktide region, we have increased the average number of cards milled against this by 10 cards. Now imagine that. Again, you are turn 3, you remove the Dragon Rage Chandler on the first turn, you remove the monkey, whatever it is, you surgical the Murktide. On turn 3, they've drawn, they've gone through about 10 cards. They've drawn a couple of cards, they've thought scoured them a little bit and stuff like that. Maybe they've gone through 15 cards, 15, 16 cards. Guess what? You're going to, on average, be milling them for 30 cards. 30 cards. Not looking like a pretty healthy deck afterwards. So, fantastic simulator and fantastic card, just really highlighting the power of what you can do. So, these are some of the ways that I think this simulator can really help us inform decisions that we want to make, as this is something that I'm thinking about right now, as well as in my sideboard guide, again available publicly in the Mill Discord, link down below. My thoughts have been that usually, is it tempo, you want to take out the surgicals, you actually just want to play a controlling game with removal and Soul Guide Lanterns. That's how you want to control the graveyard. Well, now I'm gonna be honest here, after going through this simulator, I'm honestly thinking that the plan is actually keep surgicals in and just try and resolve a bunch of mill spells and then finish it off with the Tashas. Cause this is insane. This is insane. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. So this is definitely a great way to, if you happen to come across a list that you see on the Goldfish 5.0 and you're thinking, this is an up-and-coming deck, or this is something that my locals play, go on the list. Go on the Python simulator, press the plus sign right here, add up a list. So you want to go on literally MTG Goldfish right here. Let's do it right now. I'm going to do it right now here live. Bear with me here. We haven't added, let's mess with something. Dredge. We haven't added Dredge. Nice and simple. So we're going to go to download text file. Literally off of here. Open it up. Copy that up. We're going to go to add a text file. Oh, no. What did I just do? Oh, so we got to add dredge.txt. Right? Follow the format. Paste this all out.
2,000 years later.
All right, everyone, as you can see, we added up the values. I actually just went through the simulation here. I just realized that I called it dredge.txt, but it doesn't matter. Let's go into the plot here. We've added it up, back into the image. Let's see what's going on here. So, dredge, on average, we are milling slightly over 10. Not great, but again, we are thinking of cards like Ox of Agonis, Prized Amalgam, Stinkweed Imp, 3 CMC, what is it? Oh my god, I am forgetting the name of the card. Creeping Chill is 4 CMC, there you go. So, relatively higher CMC, but it's fine. That's going to be fine because it exiles, and we have more Graveyard Hate to bring in the matchup as well. So, perfectly fine, serviceable card, specifically in that matchup. But again, a way for you to add deck lists that you want to see, run through. Is this a matchup where I'm going to board out Tasha's Hideous Laughter, or I'm going to keep in Tasha's Hideous Laughter? So here is the math involved with Tasha's. It is a fantastic card against the aggro decks, as you can see. And a lot of times, if you were able to just surgical out the higher CMC card in the list, let me tell you, 9 times out of 10, if that's the type of matchup you're up against, that is your primary plan. Your primary plan is recognizing, against Urza decks, a lot of that is low CMC stuff. Surgical out the Urza, that deck's not going to be lasting too long under Tasha's Hideous Laughter. So I thought this was a great simulator. I thought this was a great way for us to go through a video like this. Let me know what you think of this in the comment section down below. Is there ways that Seisenberger or even, can they improve on this? Is there something else you would like to see in terms of Tasha's? Let me know what you think of Tasha's in general. But we're going to call it there for the video. Remember that even the impossible is possible. And as we ponder that thought, I hope you'll join me next time as we take a glimpse into the unthinkable.